Hey, welcome back to the channel. So today, electricians had to move his socket. You can see where the plugs were, that's where it originally was. He's moved it over there, he's obviously moved his cables as well. He's made a bit of a mess, and he's left us these pieces. And that don't fit in there. Don't fit in there. So that one goes in the bin. Bin. And again, bin. So what I've done is I've cut some new pieces. I'm going to dab them in. We're going to stick them in a minute. I've got my new pieces there. I've got a small piece just to go inside that gap there. So what the first thing we're going to do is, if you look, he's left it a bit tatty around these edges. So what we're going to do is we're just going to get a knife with a sharp blade on it. Going to run it along, just tidy up them edges, just ever so slightly. And then with that top one as well, we'll just take it in a little bit. Beautiful. Same with that. We'll bring it down and we'll come across this side. Okay, so we're happy. What we've done there is we've just put a slight bevel on the edge. So when the board goes in, you don't end up with a little lippy bit. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to stick our boards in here now. What I've done is I've mixed up some easifill. It's just an easifill 20. So I mixed it up 5 minutes ago. So we've got 15 minutes working time with it. That I'll use to stick the board in and to do the repair. So it won't take long. So the first thing we're going to do, just get a little bit on our knife. We're just going to feed it inside. We're going to try and get it onto them edges as well. I want to get them edges covered. So we don't need a lot of adhesive in here because we've got them cables there. So it is going to go back to the cable and then it'll be sitting pretty much flush. I have tried it dry first just to make sure it goes back far enough. A little bit more at the bottom. Okay, so we're going to get our first piece of board now. We're going to offer it in. Now what I'm going to do is going to take a bit of a bigger filling knife. Just tap it in. Just make sure it's not lipping anywhere. There we go. So what we'll do now, we'll get a little bit on the filling knife. And while it's there now, we're just going to bring it up and fill it. And then rule off what we don't need. We're going to do the same with this one. And then I've got that tiny piece to get in there. So, because we've got no cables here now, we are going to have to make sure the adhesive is stuck to the wall and to the board. Now you're going to ask, can you use easifill 20 as adhesive? Well, my answer is yes. For small repairs like this, easifill 20, absolutely fine. Easifill 60, absolutely fine. Now the reason I know this is when we're doing a lot of patching, sometimes it drops onto the concrete floor. When it drops on the concrete floor, try and get it off. It's a nightmare. So that's how I know it'll be fine on that block work. People will say you should have used drywall adhesive or whatever, but technically, yeah, I could have got drywall adhesive. That's about the far end of sight, and I can't be bothered walking. So again, we're going to offer the board in, and we're just going to use our big filling knife just to ensure it's back far enough. What we don't want is any lips like that. Okay, so we're happy with that side now. Get a bit more gear on our board. So again, I've got some on the filling knife. I'm just going to bring it into that edge behind. Bring it across. And just rule off what you don't need. A bit of lump in that, there we go. And just rule it off what you don't need. Now what we're going to do with these is we're going to leave these just to firm up. Like I say, it takes about 10 minutes now, 15 minutes, because it's only a 20-minute filler. So it's already starting to do its magic. Right, let's climb in this now, boys and girls. Sorry about that, YouTube, but I'll get this side in. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. So again, this is going to be a bit of an awkward one. Whether we can get a 1-inch filling knife in there. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, electrician could have done with taking that socket off for me. Look what we've got here. Okay, so I've managed to get a piece in at that back. It was very, very awkward. I'll be honest with you, I made a right mess of my hands. I made a mess of all this. I'll give it a wipe in a minute. So, as I pulled it out, I've slightly disturbed this. What I'm going to do, this is starting to go on the turn, this now. So this is starting to firm up a little bit. So we shall leave that like that. Now what we're going to do, let that dry. So I'm going to give it 10 minutes now while that starts drying. I'll clean my bucket out, clean my tools, make another mix up, and then we'll go back over it. And I'll go over it with a third coat. The third coat I'll use toupret, joint and skim. And I'll probably come out to about here. And we'll get a finish on it all. Show you how to do it without sanding. Okay, so we put this on about 15 minutes ago. We've allowed it to firm up and dry a little bit. What you'll find, it does slightly sink back into some of these joints. So we're going to give it a second coat now. Go over it all. That'll flatten everything off. And then we'll go around it. We'll give it an extra coat of toupret, joint and skim. And we'll do it without sanding. So first things I need to do is try and get through this fiddly bit again. I'll be honest with you. Electrician's not left it easy for us, this one. It would have been a lot easier if he'd took the socket completely off and blanked it for me. Okay, so what I've done is I've mixed up some more easifill 20, but I've done this with hot water. So this will go off really, really fast. So again, just ruling it in, putting it on, ruling it off. Get a little bit in this bottom corner. Again, a little bit on my filling knife. Just bring it in. I'm going to come across with it now. A little bit on, we'll come across this top now. And again, another pass. There we go. So I can feel this firming up already, and I only mixed it 5 minutes ago. So what I'll do is I'll bring this across now. And all this is doing now is where it's sunk back, this will now fill in. So again, I'll go underneath it now. Bring the filling knife across. A little bit there. Fill the knife back across. There. That's better. Again, just come across this. I'm just trying to make sure now that I've got it filled out far enough. So when I put my final coat on, it won't sink back into any of these joints. Your final coat is always a really fine finish. I'll let you know how we do it without sanding. Now you've got a couple of options here. You can leave that to fully dry, come back to it the next morning or next day and give it a light sanding. But like I say, we don't get that luxury on site because very rarely we're on the same job 2 days on the run. So for us, we have to learn how to get a finish on it without sanding. I say it's getting a bit late in the day now. It's probably getting on for 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We don't normally work past 3 o'clock with patches, if I'm being honest with you. That's because we're on site and we're running around like headless chickens from just gone 7 in the morning. Now, people are going to ask, why did I not put scrim tape over them joints? We've got a solid block behind it. It's not going anywhere. We're not going to get any movement on that wall. We know we've dabbed to the solid block. We've got cables behind there, but we've got the adhesive all the way around, and we've got adhesive touching the block. So that won't move either. That little piece, you'd never get scrim tape on it anyway. So for me, I'm happy. A small repair like this doesn't always warrant scrim tape. Now, if that was on a bit of a stud wall and had a bit of movement, then possibly, yeah. If there's movement, I would definitely recommend using a mesh tape. But for repairs like this, where you've stuck the boards in, you've got adhesive all the way around, then that should be absolutely fine. So I'll give that 5 minutes now. I can see it starting to firm up on my board already, just slightly. So I'll give that 5 minutes, give my gear clean, get the toupret out, and we'll give it a finish without sanding. So we've put our first 2 coats on this. We've dabbed the boards in, put our first 2 coats on, and allowed it to firm up. So we're happy now, it's solid, absolutely solid. All them joints are now filled. So like I say, you've got a couple of choices here. You can leave it, sand it back in the morning. You can see that's dry now. You could sand that, but that would tear. You can still see the colour difference in it. So even though it's firm to touch, it's not going anywhere. You still can't sand it while it's like that. You have to wait for it to dry properly before you can sand it. Hence why we have to get a finish on it without sanding. So this now is a toupret joint and skim. So it's a purpose-made filler. It's a ready mix filler, and it's just for fine top coating. So I'm going to get a bit on my knife. We're going to come through. What we'll do first, we'll get that awkward bit done down there. It's really awkward to get into. So I've got a little bit on my knife. Give it a minute. Now we'll try and get in this silly little gap. Clean off the edges. Okay, so I'm happy I've got some in that gap now. When the socket goes back, there'll be a tiny little gap there. So most of that you won't see. Okay, so we've got filling knife now, bit on my filling knife. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this edge through first. So I'll just put a little bit on the blade, a little bit on the corner. I'm going to start down here and just bring it through. Again, I'm coming across, take off what I don't need. Okay. What we're going to do now is we're going to bring it right the way around, right the way across, and right the way down to the bottom. That way we can do it, we can get a finish on it without sanding. So the beauty of this stuff is you can go over your work that you've already done, and you can build it up in layers if you need to. And it dries when the air gets up with it. So as this is now, as the air's hitting this is now starting to dry for me. So we're going to keep applying it. I'll apply it in small coats, thin coats, tight coats. And again underneath. Bring it through. So as you see, the pass I'm making now is coming down the past my original passes. So my original pass finished there, and now I'm finishing down there. That's touch dry already. So we'll bring this middle through now. So a bit more on the filling knife. And so it's fairly flat to the wall as you put it on. So as you see, it's fairly thick. You see that? And then as you take it back and rule it, what you're trying to do is take off all the heavy and the excess. So you can see now, it's virtually, it's half a millimetre, if that. It's a fraction of a millimetre. So because I'm doing it in layers like that now, that's allowing the air to get to that, and that'll be drying fairly fast. So again, I'm just going to come past my original passes. Keep it as fine as I can on the edges. Now, for all those that have watched the channel before, you'll know what's coming next. So, I have this sponge float. I'm going to wring the water out of it. So there's a bit of moisture left on that. Not a lot, but there's some moisture left on it. All I'm going to do is bring in that top edge. Bring it down there. Bring him down there like so. And we're going to get a small brush. Shake all the water off it. I'm just going to bring in this awkward bit. Like so. Now, you want a clean filling knife for this bit. Or trowel, whatever you want to use. Filling knife, trowel, whatever you want to do it. I've done it with a filling knife today. I normally use a trowel. But for the purpose for today, we've just done it with a filling knife, just to show you. Now, we know we've got all that covered. It's flat, it's smooth, it's dry to touch. So this is in real time. That socket can go back now when the electrician puts that socket back. Painter will come in, paint it all. We'll not be able to tell we've been there. Just get this 1-inch knife now, just finally bring that through. And there we go. So we just need to clean down this now. We'll see what we can find to clean it. Luckily, we've been left a bit of underlay. What we'll do, just get the sharpest trowel in the world, cut a piece off, go get some clean water, and I'll give that a wipe. There we go, give that a wipe. And we're happy with cleaned off, we'll dry that as well so it doesn't dry with any residue. Like that. Nothing on that wall. Okay, so we've got it all clean now. We're happy, it's all on, it's all flat, it's covered, painted, it'll be absolutely fine. It's nice and dry, it's solid, it's going nowhere. If you like what you're seeing, like and subscribe. That's how you do an easy little drywall repair. All the repairs I do on this channel are do without sanding. So, like I say, if for any reason you're not confident, you don't want to do what I do with the water, or you're not as neat for any reason, because obviously I do this for a living, just put it on, let it dry, sand it back. And if you are going to sand it back, try and use a dustless sander, or make sure you wear a mask, because this stuff will kill you. So thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe. Plenty more stuff coming on the channel. Thank you.